Having $1 million in your TSP is a great goal to shoot for. Some of you are already there, or maybe you and your spouse have $1 million combined and you've started to think about retirement more seriously. But achieving this doesn't guarantee that you're ready for retirement just yet. So in today's video, I'm going to show you a real retirement plan so that you can see the different options if you're around 60 with about $1 million in your portfolio and you're asking yourself, can I retire? Hey everyone, I'm Thiago, and I help federal employees plan better retirements. So today's example is from a real family that came to us wondering if they're ready for retirement. Now, of course, their names and information have all been redacted to protect their privacy, but I wanted to show you a very real scenario that we see time and time again. And so here we have Mr. and Mrs. Sample, who are 59 and 60 years old. One of them is a Fed and the other works in the private sector. And they came to us asking, can we retire? And they have about $1 million between their investments. And so what we did is take them through an exercise of modeling out their financial picture. And we looked at just that. Can you retire today? And if not, what are some solutions that are going to help you be able to do so? And so let's review their assets so that we understand what we're working with. We've got a checking account, a joint brokerage account. We've got a 401k and a TSP, a Roth IRA. That equals to about $1.4 million when you include the equity of their home. But of course, as we take that out, they've got about $1 million in liquid investments. And when I met with them, they told me that they wanted to be able to retire with confidence. They wanted to travel more. They wanted to keep their taxes low and make sure that they had the right investment strategy and so forth. And in retirement, they said that they needed about $7,000 a month to be able to support their lifestyle. So those are the details we're working with. We've got a 60-year-old couple with just about $1 million in their portfolio, and they need about $7,000 a month. That's going to have to be a combination of their Social Security, FERS pension, and portfolio withdrawals. So what we did is we modeled out what would that look like if they retired today. First, we look at a cash flow report. And very simply, it shows us what do they have coming in terms of cash, so cash inflows, and what expenses are going out, known as cash outflows. So obviously, if they retire right now, they have very little in income coming in because Social Security doesn't start until later. But remember, if you retire on an immediate and unreduced pension under FERS, then you also get the FERS annuity supplement, which goes until you're age 62. And it stops at 62 because that's when Social Security is first eligible to you, even though it's reduced by about 30% if you take it that soon. Now, we also have a FERS pension, but with no COLAs. Remember, your FERS pension does not start having COLAs until age 62 as well. And of course, we have the survivor benefit pension cost built into this so that the non-Fed spouse can continue to get a part of the FERS pension if the federal employee were to die first. And now this family is almost done paying their mortgage, so that's still here under liabilities for a few more years. And then we have insurance and taxes on things like your FERS pension and portfolio withdrawals. So to maintain their lifestyle after they stop working, they're bringing in about $40,000, but their outflows are about $120,000, factoring everything, which means that they're going to need about $80,000 in this first year from their portfolio to supplement their needs. And of course, everything adjusts slightly for inflation each year. So obviously, these are some pretty big numbers because they don't have Social Security coming in quite yet. And we have a pretty big jump in the required amount for the next several years, and that's because their non-retirement accounts have run out of money by then. And so now they're taking pre-tax distributions from their portfolio, which means they have to pay taxes, and that has to come out of the portfolio as well. Now, the next thing that we need to understand is how sustainable is it for this family to pull out this amount of money from their portfolio in early retirement. And to figure that out, we do portfolio projections to see what things could look like going forward. We do assume some growth in the portfolio because it does have to be invested and growing for them, but we also have to begin factoring in those withdrawals that we saw they're going to need for their retirement. So we can see here that we start taking withdrawals from their different accounts to meet their needs in retirement. And it looks like from a withdrawal perspective, they're taking almost 8% out of their portfolio in this first year. Now, ordinarily, 8% for a whole retirement is not sustainable, but sometimes it can be okay, especially early in retirement. So what we want to do is make sure that we understand what kind of impact does this kind of withdrawal have in the long run. And now we do see the percentage increasing a bit over time, not because they're increasing their expenses. They do have a little more tax money they have to take out too, but this is also because their portfolio is withdrawing. So those withdrawals begin to make bigger parts of their portfolio. And so now if we move 5 years into the future, where now we're looking at 2028 through 2032. This is the time frame that their Social Security is going to kick in at their full retirement age. So we can see their required withdrawals from portfolios goes way down, because now they've got a lot of guaranteed income that's coming in from Social Security and FERS, and they just need a little bit more support from their portfolio. But as a planner, I'm immediately concerned about those higher levels of distribution in early retirement. And so that's when we start to go look at the models and see how are things really going to turn out. And when we look at a projection of their portfolio, things don't look that good. It looks like the early years of their retirement, they're okay and able to meet their expenses, but once Social Security kicks in, that's when things level off, but by then, they've already depleted a big part of their portfolio. And now having to make this last for the rest of their lives is going to be challenging. And when we look at a Monte Carlo analysis, which is probabilities of success, we're coming in at 46%, which is really not where I'd like them to be. Now, when we looked at this graph and these numbers together, they started to feel a little bit hopeless. They thought that maybe retirement is still several years away, or that they'd have to make drastic changes to their lives. But that's not the case. And this is the reason I wanted to make this video, because sometimes incremental changes can compound and together have a really profound impact on the success of a retirement plan. If they could have the right retirement systems in place combined with some small changes, then it's possible that it has a huge impact on the sustainability of their retirement in the long run. And so let's take a look at what some of those things are and incorporate them in their plan. During our conversations, they said, you know what, Thiago, we don't hate our jobs. We just don't want it to consume our lives or get in the way of being able to travel more or spend more time with our grandkids. So I explained to them that a lot of retirees don't just retire completely and then do nothing for the rest of their lives. The reality is that most people do still want to spend their time contributing to something in retirement, but they just don't want to have to rely on a full-time job anymore. We have clients that get consulting jobs, or maybe they do some teaching in retirement. Some of them sit on a board for a few hours a week, and more often than not, they can earn a bit of income for doing so. So they still get to contribute to something, but they've got a ton more flexibility in their lives. In fact, some of our clients even have special arrangements with their agencies where they're working part-time and still get to maintain their benefits. So they said, man, Thiago, you know what? That sounds just like us. We like volunteering, and I know that I would enjoy consulting here and there. So we talked about what that might look like and determined that they could earn about $30,000 in extra income for a few years. So we went to the plan and we built $30,000 of income for 4 years to see what impact that kind of part-time income would have on their retirement plan. And immediately we see that there's a pretty substantial difference here. And that was just one variable. But when we look at a Monte Carlo analysis for this, they're still not really in a high probability of success. So there's still some other things that we can do. So then I made another suggestion. I said, you know, if we could implement a slightly different investment strategy, and if we could fine tune your income system so that you're reducing your taxes along the way, then that might make a really big difference in your plan in the long run. So we modeled out the change to their investment strategy, which helped. But looking at probability of success, we're still a bit lower than I would like. But then we show implementing a proper retirement income system, which helped them reduce their taxes along the way. And that really took us to the green zone. And when we look at their portfolio projections, now we're having conversations about the legacy that they might be leaving to their kids and the best ways to go about doing that. So they came to us really concerned about retirement, and now they're much more confident about being able to do so and better enjoy their lives. But then I said to them, you know, both of you mentioned to me that you really want to do more traveling in retirement. What would it take for you to have your dream vacations for the first 5 years of retirement? If you were able to spend an additional $20,000 a year for the first 5 years of retirement to be able to go and create those incredible memories together, what would that look like if we added a bigger travel budget? You can see there's obviously a pretty big impact because you're doing bigger spending, but you're still fully on track to continue meeting all of your needs, and you're still in a relatively high probability of success. And that's the beauty of having the right plan in place. You go from a sense of, hey, we're not really sure if this is going to work, we have a really low probability of success, to, hey, if you can implement these systems in this way, then you get to be on track to meeting all of your goals and more. Now, just doing all of this modeling is not enough. When we look at probabilities of success, these are often giving you a single annualized return on your investments. And the reality is that the markets just won't give give you the same return year upon year. Some years will be up, other years will be down, some years will be flat. And you have to be sure that your plan is still on the trajectory of being able to continue meeting your goals. To illustrate, this is a graphic from BlackRock, which is one of the creators of the TSP funds. And what they show here are 3 portfolios, all with the same average annual return. So all of them average 7% in this example, but the sequence of those returns is what differed. Obviously, each portfolio took a different pathway to the end, but they all end up in a relatively similar place. Note that this is inflated money, so it's not quite spending like today's 5 million. But then they took the same scenario and they started to apply annual withdrawals from them, which kind of sounds like what? Retirement, right? Well, now we have 3 completely different scenarios. One retirement failed altogether, one was in trouble, and only one of them was sustainable and successful in the long run. So you can see that your investment returns are not the only thing that make your retirement successful. Your investments are incredibly important, of course, but they're not important enough if you get all of the other parts of your retirement plan wrong. If you're overpaying in taxes, if you're impacted by sequence of returns risk, if you're not rebalancing correctly, or you're making withdrawals at the wrong time, all of those things could have a negative impact. Your retirement income strategy and what you're doing to minimize your taxes are just 2 examples of the kinds of things that you need to make sure that your retirement stays successful. And this really illustrates how retirement is not just a set it and forget it. How can you tell that you're on the right path and that you're not here or here or here? And more importantly, how do you redirect your trajectory to make sure that you're still on the path of success? That's where we like to stress test a plan to make sure that there aren't any additional risks that can derail a retirement. And by the way, is this helpful where I walk through a real example of what it's like to build a retirement plan? If this is helpful, let me know in the comments. Say, yes, Thiago, this is helpful. Or, hey, Thiago, can you show more examples with taxes or different withdrawal systems? Or if you hated it, then you can let me know that too. And the point that I wanted to make with this video is not that your plan is going to look just like this one, but that there are some simple systems and sometimes small changes that you can implement in your own retirement plan that can help give you the best chance of having your dream retirement. Retirement planning is a process, which means there's a lot of knobs and levers that we can pull to help you make sure that you're still on track. But it's important that you do the planning. We've done countless retirement plans, and I can tell you that there's not a formula that fits for everyone, but rather it's coming up with a strategy that helps you move from your current position to where you really want to be in the future, whether that's more traveling or better supporting your grandkids or maybe even retiring sooner than you thought. So I hope this was helpful. Give the video a thumbs up if you think so, and until next time, stay wise and stay wealthy.